Hey there everybody, it's a beautiful spring day down here in the south, and today on Live Fire Cooking with Grandpa's Pride, we're doing an American classic. On an American classic, we're grilling steaks on the Weber kettle. Y'all stay tuned. Alright kids, so as I said outside today, we're going to be grilling steaks. So the difference between grilling and smoking, grilling is direct heat. So you get the convective heat, you get the radiant heat, infrared heat type stuff. Whereas smoking is more indirect with a lot more, well, smoke to it. So as this is Live Fire Cooking with Grandpa's Pride, today we're going to be grilling New York strips. New York strips come from the short loin of the cow. And you may say, Jeff, why are you doing a show about cooking steaks or grilling steaks? Well, I understand some of you may never have been shown how to grill a steak. Well, good news. Uncle Jeff is here to teach you how to grill a steak properly. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is here you have my 3 New York strips. Got some nice fat along the edge there, a little bit of marbling in there. Not as fatty as a ribeye, which I would have preferred to have purchased last night, but where we were, 2 ribeyes were $31, and I just wasn't going to do that. These 3 New York strips came out about 21 bucks. So the first thing we're going to do is a dry brine. So this is 3/4 of a teaspoon. This is my kosher salt. Basically, you're going to just sprinkle most of this 3/4 of a teaspoon on each side. Now you may say, Jeff, that's a lot of salt. Well, it is. These are thick cuts of meat. Again, we're trying to get flavor down into the meat, and that's where the dry brining comes in. And you can look at some other videos where I talk about dry brining and wet brining and such. Okay, all right, pat that in. I'm not using any oil, nothing. All I'm doing at this point is a dry brine. I want to get the salt into the meat and draw out any of the moisture that I can, because when you draw out moisture, you're concentrating flavor. That's why dry aged steaks tend to taste beefier, if you will, because they've removed most of the, or a good portion anyway, of the liquid. Now, when I cook these, I'm not going to add a single thing to them. I'm not going to add salt, pepper, garlic, and there's the bell ending the 3rd round. So when I grill these, I'm not going to add anything to them, as I said, because if you add salt, pepper, garlic to it, potentially that could burn and give you an off flavor that you don't necessarily want. All right, so all I'm going to do with these now is I'm going to put these in the refrigerator. They're going to sit 6 to 8 hours so that salt can kind of work its way in. And when we come back after that, we'll put them on the grill and get them cooking. Be right back. Okay, everybody, so the steaks have been sitting in the refrigerator for a while now. So remember, if you will, what we started off with was just salt. We just put some salt on them. And if you look down at them now, the salt is gone. You don't see it anymore. So that means the salt is broken down, has either been absorbed by the meat or somehow has gone away. But it's been absorbed by the meat because, again, we did a dry brine. Now, all I'm going to do at this point to get these ready for the grill is I'm just going to apply a little bit of oil to them. So that'll help them so they don't necessarily stick on the grate. So just going to take our little almost useless oil dispenser, little oil, and spread it out. Not real heavy, just enough to, it'll also help with the browning, what is called the Maillard reaction. So flip this over, rinse and repeat. A little bit of oil, not much. Again, I'm not putting anything on here like pepper or onion or garlic yet. I'm not going to do that until they come off. Because again, I don't want to put something on there that may burn. Okay, that's it. So we'll go outside. I'll show you how I got the grill set up and we'll get these steaks going. Okay, so I've got my chimney starter going with some charcoal briquettes. I didn't use natural lump this time. Briquettes are fine to use. A lot of people don't like them because they're made with dust and binders. But if you burn them off and everything, they're fine. You're just looking for BTUs at this point. So this here is a Weber kettle grill. It's been around, I think, since the late 50s, early 60s. Design hasn't really changed a whole lot. They've added a little bit here and there, but basically it's a metal tub with a couple grates. You dump your charcoal in, and I've got it set up. We're gonna have a 2-zone fire. So we'll have the heat over here, and we'll have the escape zone over here. So it gets too hot over here, I can bring it over here so we don't burn it. So what I'm gonna do today is a little bit of a modified reverse sear. I'm gonna start off on this side, on the cold side, to bring it up to temperature a bit, and then I'm gonna finish it off over the hot side, so that'll give the grate a lot of time to really get smoking, screaming hot. So it'll sear it up really quickly. So without further ado, please be careful when you're handling hot charcoal, because you can burn yourself pretty quickly, and it's no fun, trust me. So normally, you see how these are not quite all ashed over yet. I would normally go ahead and let them ash over, but I'm kind of pressed for time, so it's fine. So basically, again, I'm doing a 2-zone fire. Just going to mount it up over here on this side. Okay. Got my little charcoal baskets acting as a wall. Okay. Now you control the heat on one of these things by the dampers. There's one on the bottom and there's one on the top. So I'm going to also, to add a little flavor to our steaks, I'm going to add in a piece of oak. You don't have to do that, it's just fun. Okay, so as I said, we've got a 2-zone fire. We got the heat side over here, and we got the escape pit over here. So I'm going to run inside and get the steaks, and we'll be back here in just a minute. Okay, so we're back out here. This side is going to be screaming hot. What I'm doing is I'm just going to take the steaks, and we'll put them in the safe zone. No sizzling, no flare up, no fuss, no muss. And you want to make sure your grill's good and clean. I cleaned this one earlier today with a citrus-based cleaner, so pretty happy with the way it cleaned up. All right, I'm just going to leave these in here now for about 20 minutes. I'm just going to bring them up to temperature, get a little smoke from the oak, and then when we're ready, we'll go ahead and we'll do a sear on both sides real quick. Be right back. Okay, so the steaks have been on the cold side for about 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move them over to the really screaming hot side, and we're going to start the searing part. See how they've taken on a little bit of color, and that's what we want, is a nice sizzle. Okay, little tip, if you always, as I've said, have one of these to check the meat, because you don't want to overcook it. But if you don't have an instant read thermometer, there's a way you can tell by doneness, which is by feel. Put your finger and thumb together and press this part right here. That's rare. Medium rare, it's getting a little tighter. Medium. And then why would you do this? That's well done. Why would you do that? That's criminal. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. So if you don't really know for sure, that's a way to check. So see you back in a little bit. Okay, so the steaks have been cooking for about a minute, minute and a half. It's time to take a flip on them. By the way, a lot of the stuff that I use, I learned from watching a lot of Alton Brown videos. Alton Brown is kind of my culinary hero. So he does a really good segment on cooking steaks. So credit to him where credit's due. So here we go. We're going to do a flip. That's what we're looking for. Okay. Another minute. And we'll be right back. Okay, so they've been cooking away for about another minute, minute and a half or so. Now we're going to flip. I'm also going to go ahead and check temperature. Perfect. Okay, these are about to come off here in just a minute, so we're going to get these off and get them inside and let them rest, and we'll be back. Okay, so we're going to take these off. We'll take them back inside. I'm going to cover them up with a little piece of foil because everything needs to rest. Remember, we've talked about the importance of resting. It's real hot in there right now. Pressure's going to want to push the juices out. So it's still a juicy steak. You cut it now, you're gonna have juice go everywhere, and then it'll be a dry steak. And we don't want that because we've worked hard to get to this point. No, not really, but anyway, it sounds good. So we'll be right back inside in a minute. What I'm doing here, I'm taking some salt, and this is just onion, garlic, and fresh cracked black pepper. So when we're ready to eat, we're just gonna put this on that steak and let it melt. Some people make a compound butter. This is the closest I'm gonna get to that. So. Okay, so we're gonna take the steaks that have been resting. Remember, when it's resting, it's relaxing, the juices are redistributing. I'm sorry, y'all, that's just a good looking piece of meat to me. Now, here's the butter that I just made. I'm gonna put that on there and let that melt with it. Do the same on these two. And in just a few minutes, when that's done melting, we're gonna have ourselves a nice little dinner. So, again, always, I encourage everybody to be nice to people. It's a crazy world out there. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. And remember, when you're cooking steak, do the dry brine. You have the period of time where it sits in the fridge that salt's absorbing. Have a 2-zone fire on your grill, be it gas or a propane or charcoal like what we had. But have a 2-zone fire so that way you can have an escape zone if it starts to get too hot. When it's done cooking, let it rest and make yourself a little seasoned up butter. You guys enjoy, and we'll see y'all next time. Have a good week.